Hello and welcome again to DieCastRestos. It's Jason here, and today I'll be working on the number 50A Commer Pick-Up Mk VIII. This model was in the range from 1958 until 1964. It came in a range of colours, initially tan brown, could be a light brown, it did vary quite a lot. Eventually it switched to red with a white roof and a white bed. Now the model I've got here is quite badly chipped on the sides and on the front and the rear, but you can see the base has been pushed in a fair bit. The rivet extends quite a long way out, it does protrude a fair bit. This one comes with the crimped axles and metal wheels. You can see there's collected quite a bit of dust and dirt in the bed of the pickup itself. First of all, I started off doing what I usually do and tried to remove the axle, but because the axle is obscured slightly by the bed itself, I couldn't carry on doing it this way. So I'd filed down a little bit of the axle with my fake Dremel before I decided to revert to removing the rivet first. Using a 5mm drill bit. The base is easily removed once that has gone. As you saw earlier, it was already quite loose as that rivet post protruded quite a bit. Then I use a 1.5mm drill bit ready for tapping the post. Here I just file down the post itself. And then after lubricating, I can tap the post. Here you can see there was a bit of damage to the front of the base plate. Just in front of the rivet, the base had sort of folded in on itself a little bit where it looks like it's been crushed. So I used the end of my flat-headed screwdriver just to tap it down back into position. And here are the main components again. Only 8 individual pieces this time. This means I'm now ready for paint stripping. So I pop them in the pot to bathe away in that horrible brown mess. As the name suggests, the model is based on a Commer light pickup, which in turn itself is based on a Hillman Minx. And here you can see I'm just removing a bit more of the paint, but it did need to go in for a little bit longer. Eventually it comes out fairly good. A little bit of paint residue in the front grille, and there's a sticky patch on the left hand side. But all in all, it looks like the paint strip has done a decent job again. Strangely, however, with the base, the paint stripper had bubbled it up, but it didn't flake away, so I do just need to scrape away at that in a short while's time. Now I'm using my dental tools to remove the paint that's left over. Here's that sort of sticky residue on the side that I'm scraping away at. Once that's done, I use a wire brush just to buff it up prior to priming. I use some wet and dry sandpaper to remove the surface rust and give the axles a bit of a polish up. And then there's a bit of a before and after. Makes quite a bit of difference. Using the usual fine Tamiya surface primer, I'll give the model a good coat. I have to say I'm not a huge fan of this casting, I find it a little bit bland. Don't know why, it's just personal preference. I wasn't too happy with the results either, to be honest. I needed to do a bit more work, so I'll freeze it here. And you can see there's clumps of primer just collected around the rear wheel arch. So what I did was go back to the drawing board, give it a bit of a scrub down in certain places, tried to smooth it out. Bit of a waste of primer, I know, but I just wasn't happy with what I'd seen. Several areas that needed a bit of attention. But that's what this primer's great at. It points out all of the areas that could really be improved, and that can only really be a good thing if you're a bit of a perfectionist. Now, annoyingly, my camera decided to play up during one of the areas you can't really re-record, which was during the painting phase. I'd used the Tamiya TS77, which is flat flesh, which sounds horrendous, but I suppose is actually used for modelling human-like creations. But here I'll just show you, I think this was either me applying the spray again or a clear coat, because it was, as the name suggests, a bit flat. But this is definitely post clear coat because it's got a real nice shine to it. While the paint and or the clear coat is drying, I popped the axles back onto the model with the wheels attached after a bit of a clean up. And then using my needle nose pliers, I apply a fair bit of pressure trying to try and get those crimps on the axles back in position. Once that's done, I'll spruce up the ends of the axles by applying some silver paint from a paint pen. I find this really makes them pop and stand out. Once the axles and the body have dried, I can pop the base into the rear latch and then over the front rivet. And then I can screw it back in, ready for painting in the details. That's if I can get the screw to sit in place. And using the same silver paint pen again, I fill in the grille and the headlights. I was tempted just to leave it winking. It's got a very characterful face. Took some time to fill in the grille, it's really showing its teeth. And I'll fill in the badge as well, and also the little turn signals and the front bumper. So here is the model we began the day with. Flaked paint, not really rolling properly because of the issue with the front rivet kind of folding in on itself. Dirty and dusty where the dirt's collected over the years in the bed of the pickup. It just needed a bit of a scrub up really because it was no good to nobody in that kind of state. It just kind of looked a bit sorry for itself. So I gave it the TLC and here is the final result. Like I said before, not my favourite model, not my favourite casting, but I felt this one deserved at least another chance. I think the paint match is fairly decent because there was such huge variation, especially in these early models from the late 50s. So with regards to that, I'm quite pleased. I quite like the detail on the front grille. Just watching as the model rotates, the hubs really stand out. I suppose they really would do when the models are sort of smaller size with the larger ends of the hubs, because the axles all seem to be very much the same size. Anyway, that's enough from me for today. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now. Very characterful. It's got a very characterful. It's got a very characterful. Oh, characterful. It's got a very characterful. Oh, for sake! It's got a very characterful face.